So, what makes me cranky about American Made? There's really not enough stuff here to make for a whole movie. This is definitely one of those films that looks fun and exciting when you cut it down to a 2-minute trailer, and isn't quite so fun and exciting as a movie because there's really only 2 minutes of actual fun and exciting stuff in it. The rest is mostly just padding. It's kind of like how the movie itself is basically a few stories plucked out of a long narration by its main character, Barry Seal, who basically got sucked into a massive drug and gun running operation by the US government, which, as these things tend to do, eventually went sideways. Once it did, he started making tapes explaining his rise and fall, and I'm sure most of what he says in those tapes is pretty boring stream of consciousness kind of stuff. But every once in a while, he tells a joke or gets to a story that might perk your ears up, and that's what the movie shows us. So basically, you get a little intro from Barry that sounds really interesting, and then the movie will show you a little of the time period he introduced. Every so often, something pretty funny happens, or there'll be a mildly exciting sequence with a plane or some cartel guys putting his life in danger, but the rest of it is just stream of consciousness fluff. And it really doesn't build up to anything. Even when things could get legitimately tense, Tom Cruise plays this character so affably that it seems like very little bothers him. Even when he thinks the cartel is coming to kill him, it's treated more like a gag than a terrifying situation. I can't really blame Cruise for that, though, because that's really just how the characters are written throughout the movie. He's just one of those people who rolls with the punches and doesn't get super upset about anything. This is the second time recently that Cruise has picked a character who breaks with his normal heroic type and is just kind of a sleazy opportunist, and it's the second time the result just isn't that great. This is certainly no Mummy reboot. This is at least a cohesive narrative about things that are occasionally funny and dramatic, but it's not funny enough to work as a comedy of errors, and it's not dramatic enough to work as a serious historical biopic. And like I said, I think that comes down to it just not having enough stuff to make for a 2-hour movie. Most of what Seal did was routine and repetitive. Get in a plane, fly to a destination, pick up some stuff, fly back, drop it off, land, get the money, go home to the wife and kids, and get up and do it all over again the next day. The only thing that really changes for him is what he's carrying and who he's carrying it for. So there aren't a lot of standout moments, which if you think about it would have to be the case, because if more than a couple of his trips in and out of Colombia and Nicaragua turned into life or death situations, he wouldn't have lived long enough to have a story to tell at all. So it doesn't feel like a man slowly spiraling out of control or being dragged deeper and deeper over his head. He's just a dude who occasionally runs into some trouble with his airline business. Since he's really the only character that gets any time in the movie, there ain't much else left to make things interesting. We don't learn much about his wife or even the drug kingpins he ends up knowing well enough to party with on the holidays. Not that there are any Oscar-winning performances going on with the secondary characters, but at least if we got a deeper look at some of the peripheral people here who, let's face it, had far more compelling lives, it could have added some more engaging drama to the whole thing. I guess that's just about all there is to say about American Made. I mean, if I keep talking, I'm just going to end up padding out the review the way American Made pads out its runtime. So the bottom line is that there's no need to even go to the theater with this one. It's an okay movie to watch some afternoon on cable while you do something else. But otherwise, you're not missing anything, unless you really want to see another example of how stupid the US government can be. So that's what I thought about American Made anyway. As always, let me know what you thought in the comments. And if you'd like to get in on this extremely lucrative review smuggling operation, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.